But, don't have the amps and ECS Tyson lights. Oh, they're on. Are they? Oh, I see. You got them on dim. Okay. Just try to see them over there. Okay. Getting a water flag clear here in a minute. Okay, my PGA is getting down to about usable pressure, up 4.3 now. What's your set? Okay, reading 4.2. And we'll be able to work in a minute. Okay, first morning status is good. We have a water step light. We have CCS.
Yeah, this is Houston. We're showing your feed water pressure going up. You ought to be in business shortly.
Roger. Water pressure, water flag just cleared. That's great. Outstanding. How's yours, Al? Your water flag about to clear? No.
Okay, and Al's pressure is rising now. It ought to clear momentarily.
Okay, Al's water flag is clear. Okay, beautiful.
This depressurization procedure normally takes about 10 minutes, and they're a little better than halfway through the procedure now.
Okay. Lighting an unit to dim. Okay. Dim, stop the DET. Okay, DET is stopped. Okay. Forward hatch rest of the way open. Ready? Your leg burn there. Okay, forward hatch is open. Lower your visor. Let me get a drive and you get that. Yeah, let me. You. That's fine. Okay, can you reach everything now? Okay. See that guy. I'll help you.
This is Shepard, who goes out first. You hear Mitchell talking to Shepard. Let me help you, he says.
Right way? Okay, very good. I'll get your input as you go out. Alrighty, starting out the door.
He's got nine steps down to the moon surface.
Okay, come on over. There you go. Now you're clear. Get your head down as soon as you can. Back that on out. That's great. Wait a minute, let me get your antenna. Hold it. Okay? I have to get mine when I come out. Okay. You're clear. One out. Okay, clear that. Give me the Jensen guy. Roger, let me get over here on the other side so I can get to it. Oops.
The jettison bag has materials the crew will not use on lunar exploration.
I'm hung up on something else. Probably that's the door handle. I got it loose now. Okay, very good. Okay, Jefferson bag coming at you. Okay. Okay, I've got it. Now standing by for the LEC. Okay.
Rope-looking thing they tossed out is the LEC, the Lunar Equipment Carrier. They stretch that out kind of like a clothesline and hoist things back and forth on it. Heavier equipment hoisted down to the lunar surface and back up to the ascent stage to bring back home with them the rock samples and that equipment they do bring home. Not very much of it. Most of it's left on the moon.
Will be throwing the equipment conveyor belt.
While he's working on the LEC, let me comment that it certainly is a stark place here at Fromorrow. I think it's made all the more stark by the fact that the sky is completely black.
Roger.
That's one of the reasons we don't wax poetic. You get a plain Roger back from a rather great statement.
Out of the bag. And it's deployed. And standing by to deploy the Mesa. And the Mesa has released. Mesa has released properly, Houston.
Roger, Al.
Shutting down the ladder.
That carries the equipment and the scientific packages that they will put out on the moon. It also contains
The Mesa has been deployed.
Color camera, which they will be turning on shortly now. We hope we'll get some early pictures.
Okay, Al, beautiful. We can see you coming down the ladder right now. It looks like you're about on the bottom step. And on the surface.
Apparently Houston's seeing pictures they're not feeding to us yet.
Okay, you're right.
There they are.
Alma's on the surface, and it's been a long way, but we're here.
It's been a long way for Al Shepard.
And I can see the reason we have a tilt is because we landed on the slope. The landing gear struts appear to be about evenly depressed.
Roger, out.
And moving around, getting familiar with the surface. Surface in which the forward footpad landed is extremely soft. Matter of fact, it's in a small depression. The soil is so soft that it comes up all the way to the top of the footpad, and even folded over the side to some degree. The same is true of the plus Y strut.
Roger.
Okay, we'll move on over. Take a look at Fromorrow. Take a look at Cone Crater, I should say, which is right where it should be, and is a very impressive sight.
And Terry, this is Houston. You are go for two-man EVA, over.
Roger, Houston, thank you. And continuing, we can see the boulders on the rim. It looks as though we have a good traverse route up to the top of Cone. I can see Cone Ridge going along to the north. That's very apparent.
The camera's in a fixed position and will remain so throughout the two walks on the moon, but
I'm moving over to adjust the mesa.
they will move it from time to time to cover as much of the area as it can cover, area in which they are working. Right now, they have not come to this first movement of the camera yet, and as a consequence, you're not seeing Al Shepard in these pictures that now show just the landing ladder from the lunar module hatch. Now he looks like he's doing something with the camera.
Finishing up my circuit breaker check. We'll be ready to go out shortly.
Roger, Ed.
You heard Ed Mitchell get his go to leave the spacecraft as well a
The
moment
mesa
ago.
is adjusted. Going over to remove the Met blanket.
The Met is the mobile equipment transporter.
I think that's more fun to say rickshaw there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I'm starting out. Okay?
Mitchell coming out now.
Great picture, though. That's a Shepard. Like he's working right on the camera, and out in the back, we ought to see Mitchell coming down the ladder.
I think that tilt is coming from this hinged door that this modularized equipment compartment's on. And you see that as Al tries to move the Met off, rickshaw, whichever.
Yeah, in other words, as he works at
the mesa up slightly now to get the Met, which is a pull cart, out from under it.
As John McLeish is saying, he's working on the
Ed,
mesa.
we can see you coming down the ladder now.
It's very great to be coming down.
Roger, bottom step.
Kind of bouncing along in that 1/6 gravity. Oop.
The last one is a long one. Asset check, very easy to do. Little push and just spring right up.
This is part of their testing. This isn't just for fun and
They
games.
got
They
there with those lightweight units.
test and get used to this 1/6 gravity there at the foot of the ladder.
Yeah, they did too. That's great.
Al, this is Houston. Have you released the Met yet? Over.
He's releasing it now. Okay, Houston, the Met is finally clear of the mesa. Al, I'm going to come over. How about getting my antenna out before I lose Tom here in a minute? Okay? If I go around the corner or something. He just dropped this baby over here. Okay?
The Met will be placed on one of the footpads.
The Met again's a mobile transporter, a little two-wheeled cart.
It is bright up, son. Okay, if you'll stop here a minute, I'll get your antenna out.
What many people don't realize is how many hours they spend rehearsing this maneuver too, as well as flying the spacecraft. Each of these techniques is practiced over and over.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Houston, the mesa has been stowed on the plus Y footpad.
Roger, out.
And going back to adjust the mesa.
As they unload some of these bits of equipment, for instance, this mobile transporter, they put it over on one of the footpads. It makes kind of a handy little
Mobility is
tray for them to work with.
Very great under this crushing 160 load, Houston.
Roger.
Shepard now adjusting the television.
And looking at Cone Crater, where I was looking a short time ago, it doesn't appear there's going to be any trouble getting the mat up Cone Crater.
Backup crew copies.
They knew the troops I knew they would.
See Ed Mitchell bouncing around the
I'd
background.
be glad to hear that.
Backup crew here in Mission Control.
Okay, and here comes the lens cap.
The Mesa blanket is coming off. You lose.
Oh, Roger, the Mesa blanket.
You lose television for a moment. Okay, that's beautiful.
Discussed about the Met and that's the controversy between the prime and the backup. If you get it up Cone Crater or not.
Yeah.
There's always a subtle meaning in these so-called terse broadcasts.
You've broken the code.
Okay, secure.
The foil coating now off the Mesa.
I hope somebody thought about that bright reflection in that foil coating. They could get a bounce off that bright sun and knock off that lens again.
They've made a compensation on the lens this time as well, so we shouldn't have the same potential risk.
Back on. And barely. Great. Okay, the lens cap is going on now, Houston. We set up the tripod.
And Terry, this is Houston. Request EMU status check here.
Put a cap on the lens of the color television camera from which we're getting such magnificent pictures. This is to, when they move it, prevent it from being aimed at the sun and, as happened on Apollo 12, being burned out.
Roger, men cooling.
This is our simulation of what's going on about now. In a moment, we'll have the live pictures again, just as soon as Shepard has it set up.
CDR is 81%. CDR is 81%. 3.75. No flags. Men cooling. Roger out.
They're reading out
You're looking
the
good down here.
quantities of coolant and
Shepard now
of
setting the TV up on a tripod.
oxygen left in their portable life support system that should last over 4 hours.
Hello. Getting that television. I'll go ahead and get my contingency sample. Get it out of the way.
And CBS News color coverage of Shepard and Mitchell's first lunar excursion will continue in a moment.
Tang brings you the morning as few men have seen it. The sight of our own planet coming up over a strange horizon in space. Earthrise. Now 2 more men will see it. And with them, Tang, the orange-flavored instant breakfast drink with more vitamin C than orange juice. Nutritious Tang for spacemen and Earth families.
CBS News color coverage of the flight of Apollo 14 will continue in a moment. This is CBS.
Saturday night at 10:30, Bogart.
Oh, no, you won't. You've had your last chance, and you take this with you. I never let go of those papers. All you had to do was bump me off.
Bogart at his best. This Saturday night, Angels with Dirty Faces, also starring James Cagney and Pat O'Brien. Saturday at 10:30 on channels 10 and 11.
For fine country music, join the Wilburn Brothers at 5 tomorrow on channels 10 and 11.
Special report. 10 years later. The flight of Apollo 14. Sponsored by Western Electric, the people who make communications equipment for the Bell system. And Tang, the nutritious breakfast drink for breakfast tomorrow. Here again is Walter Cronkite.
Down in Houston at Mission Control, they were just asking if the lens cap was still on the TV camera.
Get a view of the mesa and ladder area on Antares.
The voice you hear from Mission Control is that of the voice of Apollo, John McLeish.
Okay, it's about 50 feet, I'd say. Why don't we get all the cable out while we're at it?
And they're going to have a television picture again in just a moment, it looks as if.
Contingency sample folded up.
You can see on that screen
The television
up
being
there
positioned about 50 feet out.
up in your upper left-hand corner of your picture there of Mission Control. That's a display screen with which Mission Control watches the television pictures. And you can see there that there is some color showing on the screen, and apparently they're adjusting the camera now. The television camera on the moon, of course, is not for the edification and amusement of those
Houston, the lens cap is off.
of
We're
us laymen. Oh, what a picture.
aiming for the general area of Mesa. Now can you pull this rest of this cable out away from the mesa here? Yeah, we got about 30-foot zoom. How does that look?
Okay, I think you can zoom in a little more. Let's try 40 here. Okay, and on the F-stop, Al, we'd like to stop it down one additional stop. That's toward the higher numbers.
That's Al Shepard adjusting the television camera.
22 to 44, and I'll zoom it into 40. Stand by.
And that's Ed Mitchell we see out there by the lunar module.
Okay, hold the zoom there, and the position looks good also.
These pictures are, of
Okay, how
course,
about the F-stop?
pictures are tremendously valuable to the scientists and the engineers on the ground.
Is the F-stop satisfactory, Houston?
Al, this is Houston. See if you can stop it down a little more. Run it up, run the diaphragm ring up against the stop there. It's still a little bright.
It's a little hard to adjust the camera with that very bright sun. There's no atmosphere there around the moon to interfere with the sun's rays. It gets up to 240 degrees on the moon at sun zenith.
Al, this is Houston. Request you go to peak control.
Okay, going to peak. Satisfactory?
Okay, Al, now we'd like to open it up to F-22.
If you've ever had your wife sitting across the room and while you adjust a color television set, imagine what Al Shepard's going through with Mission Control 238,000 miles away telling him what to set up.
Of course, this is where I'd like to vindicate myself from way back, but I was anticipating the day that I'd watch television on the moon. I was accused of not wanting television in space.
I remember. He said bitterly.
The only thing is, I didn't know I was supposed to turn it on that day. I can recall very vividly in a meeting, now about 88 years ago.
Would you confirm that you're at F-22 now?
Anticipating the day that I'd be sitting watching some contemporary on the moon.
Confirming that I'm at peak and that I'm at F-22.
While Shepard's doing this, what Mitchell's been doing in the background is gathering contingency samples. That is, he's going ahead and picking up rock samples from right around the lunar module and soil samples.
And while we're waiting for the television adjustments, the 230 position, approximately 50 feet where the camera is slightly uphill. We see that the LEM did, in fact, land on sort of a downslope.
Al, this is Houston.
Almost a basin. Go ahead.
Roger, Al, this is Houston. We'd like to go back to average and F-44, stop it down all the way and then leave it there.
Incidentally, for any of you viewers at home who are trying to take photographs of these lunar walks from your TV screen,
Roger, and back
if
to
you're
the zoom
using
out to
color
about
film with
35.
an ASA of 80 to 160, it's recommended using f-stop of 2.8 to 4, at a speed of 1/15th of a second. Repeat that. If it's color film, ASA 80 to 160, f-stop of 2.8 to 4, at a speed of 1/15th of a second. And they tell us for black and white film with an ASA of 160 to 400, use an f-stop of 4 to 8 with a speed of 1/15th of a second. Good luck to you.
Very fine grain. And as we mentioned before, there are very few samples that have any size at all. Mostly hand sample size and rocks of generally 1 to 2 inches or less. Houston, as you can see, the SRC table is deployed. EB is emptied, and I'm putting the LiDAR canisters in it now.
Roger, Ed, and you did leave the contingency sample on the ladder.
That's affirmative, that's where it is. Yes, it looks as though we landed in a fairly rough place. Yes, indeed it does. Evidenced by the fact you dug your front landing gear into a hole.
Peak heart rates for both crew members were just off the ladder. Shepard 120, Mitchell 124, both reading now in the 70 to 85 range.
And Houston, I have the SWC out and starting up to deploy it.
Roger, Ed.
Great.
Still in your field of view,
Bugs Bunny walking.
Affirmative.
Mitchell deploying the solar wind experiment now.
Almost look as if they're skipping for joy. And I suspect they are.
Okay, Al is bringing the S-band antenna around.
Roger, Al, we're watching you.
Positioning.
Of course, there
Shepard
isn't
moving towards us now.
any wind on the moon, but there is a movement. Well, maybe you can explain it to us a little more, what that solar wind experiment is that they pick up on this aluminum foil.
Well, there are streams of particles always streaming out from the sun, and they're trying to pick up these particles as bits of the sun
Now
itself.
setting up the erectable S-band antenna.
It's a wind, it'll push you.
Shepard.
That is, if you set a big sail in space, it will push.
It will?
Yes, very slowly, but very surely.
I recall being in a long discussion with Dr. von Braun about fact that maybe naval officer could have a career in way out space and sail with a solar wind panel about the size of 4 or 5 football fields, and eventually the acceleration or the slight change in velocity would cause you to move about.
A colleague of mine has just invented a microbalance that uses light pressure to zero it. Pushes on it with light.
They're setting up a 10-foot
now positioned by Ed Mitchell.
S-band antenna, and that should improve the reception a little bit, although it's quite good at the time. And it also serves as the continuing antenna then for the scientific station that they will set up on the moon, which will last for well over a year. The nuclear powered, we'll see them set up the nuclear power station very shortly.
One of the interesting things I'm noticing here, we have a very good picture from the moon, is the dust flying about and the way the men are hopping. And I recall some of the uninformed, at least, or people who are skeptics, thinking that these were all pictures taken on Earth of people on the moon. It's very difficult to move that way, and it's also impossible to make dust move that way.
Roger, Ed.
Very soon now they'll be switching transmissions over to that erectable antenna they're putting up now, and setting up the laser reflector, which permits with laser beams exact measurements of the distance from the moon and the wobble of the moon and the Earth. CBS News color coverage of today's walk on the moon will continue in a moment.
These are the people who make the things your phone calls are made of. The people of Western Electric, over 200,000 of us. Our job in the Bell system is to make telephones, intricate communications equipment, and millions of things that are needed to connect one phone with another in the world's largest telephone network. The Bell Telephone Network. The people of Western Electric. We make Bell telephones and other things to help you reach just about any place in the country.
Getting live color pictures from the moon. First time.
More at force penetration, and did you meet any rocks or anything like that?
This is Capsule Communicator Bruce McCandless.
I didn't run any kind of an experiment. Roger, I copy. Forcing the legs down, I just...
Ed Mitchell had said he expected to talk all the way on these walks.
Shepard has positioned the antenna legs into the lunar surface.
But we're not hearing exactly a running line of patter from him. He was brilliant, I thought, in describing the moon from the landed craft.
Looks more like a kangaroo. No, you're too far away. I should have more cable than that. Hung up. Okay, how we with respect to the cable? I'm afraid you're too far away. Well, I wanted to get maximum length. I'm moving on in. That's good. Let's see. Yeah, I wanted to do that too. This is all. Oh, good now. Okay, we'll bring it in. Put over here. Right about in here anywhere. I'd probably do it.
Well, these walks on the moon aren't exactly strolls in the sunshine. They're They work pretty hard up there.
Well, you realize they're really inside of that suit. It's about 3.75, 3.75 pounds of pure oxygen, which inflates the suit to preserve an environment that they can breathe in. That was one of my specialties in the old days, was developing those, but there's the antenna deploying. You're safe down to about 2.5 pounds, and you start getting a little trouble breathing. But the higher the pressure, the stiffer the suit.
Okay, lower it on down. Okay.
I have a little trouble opening up that antenna. It's supposed to unfold sort of like a parasol, upside down parasol. There it is.
All kinds of freebies in today's simulation.
Roger, we got the boys in the back room working overtime.
The antenna pops out like an upside-down umbrella.
What I was referring to, the freebies, is that they probably had to do this once before simulating it to help deploy that antenna. Tilt it over.
Okay. Sure you got it?
We've got the boys in the back room working overtime. They've had a lot of little problems here that try to line up and correct for the next flight.
Looking at that antenna, you must realize that we are up from them. That antenna theoretically should be looking at Earth. The parabola, the actual point above them should be the waveguide that brings that signal
Okay,
out.
there's Earth, way up there.
Yeah.
Aiming at Earth.
Yeah, there's that lot. Let's get close. Let me get on the glass. Take that trans to the left a little more.
Seen a picture from the moon of there aiming that thing back at us at Earth. It's,
Wait a minute, because that changes the whole deal.
they've had trouble with this thing now. It's taken them a lot
Shepard
longer
giving
than
an eyeball alignment towards Earth.
planned, and it was thought that Shepard would be able to do this by himself.
Oh, just put it back down again.
So this spacewalk is running behind schedule, even as did the egress from the spacecraft itself.
My OPS is hitting it.
All right, just a second. Let me back it off. Let me just go just a little bit. Okay, that's about it for azimuth. I'll come down a little bit.
Okay.
Let me just check, see which way you want to go. Yeah, pretty soon.
Okay.
Okay, coming down a little bit.
Good down.
Hold it.
Back up just a bit. Right there. Okay, I have the Earth centered.
Okay.
Okay, Houston, four-sided the Earth, dark side and all. This is Houston, roger.
Hey, the stand antenna has been erected and aligned, and the cable has been attached.
And I'll go back in the switch. Roger, Ed.
Okay.
And we'd like to get an EMU status report as you go by.
Okay, the CDR is reading 3.75, reading 7.6 on the O2. I have no flags. I'm still a minimum flow, and I'm comfortable.
Okay, this is Ed. I'm reading 375. About 75% O2. No flags. Minimum cooling, and I'm very comfortable too. Roger out.
That's a good point. Position really on there.
The figures you'll see from time to time on the screen of the length of time of the walk are timed from the depressurization of the cabin, and that's completed, and not the actual walk of the men on the moon. There's an extra 10 minutes figured in there. Shepard stepped down on the moon surface at 9:54 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's 33 minutes from 33 minutes ago.
Marked 45 minutes since cabin depress.
Hey, Bruce, is any appreciable dust flying over these boots? I'd like not to take all that dirt in there.
I didn't notice any on the TV.
Okay.
Mitchell is going back into the cabin now to turn on the S-band radio, the transmitter that has just been erected, the transmitter that feeds through this antenna that has just been erected. And he will also then transfer further equipment from the lunar module out to Shepard.
And Houston, I'm back in the lab.
That's Mitchell.
Roger, Ed.
Not a great deal of problem. I'm getting ready to switch to lunar stay. Give me a call, and if I don't hear you in about 30 seconds, we'll go back.
Ed, this is Houston. You go to switch to lunar stay. Go ahead.
Lunar stay being the code words for this transmitter through the antenna you've just seen.
And Houston, this is Ed. How do you read?
Loud and clear, Ed.
Okay, you're on the erectable antenna.
Roger, and how are you reading us?
Loud and clear.
Beautiful.
Actually, whereas a moment ago it would appear that they were running behind schedule,
I'm ready for the ETV most any time.
they aligned much faster than had been anticipated, and they're now back on schedule.
Shepard now transferring the contingency sample up the conveyor belt, the first lunar material to go to the limb.
We almost picked up 10 minutes, in fact, from
Did the
depressurization.
contingency sample get in there?
That's affirmative. Would never do for us to leave that one behind, Bruce. Okay, well, Bruce is loading up the ETB. Who?
Don't I wish
Ed
it?
is loading up the ETB.
That was a kid line.
Well, Ed is loading up the ETB. I'll describe the general landing site. We are, in fact, in a low area. There seems to be a general soil or a wide valley between the triplet craters and the doublet craters. And we are on the downhill side at this particular point. It levels off at a lower elevation to the west of the limb, approximately 15 feet lower there, and then it starts back up to the rim of Dublin. It's a very uneven landing area here, and of course, like all other sections of the moon, it's pockmarked by tremendous amount of craters. The surface here, as we pointed out, is mostly fines, and I hate to discuss any kind of lineations here in the immediate vicinity of the limb because I can see very definite indications of the radial dust pattern caused by the descent engine. I don't see any other lineal patterns as such right here in the area. There are perhaps half a dozen very large rocks at the 1 o'clock position from the limb.
But perhaps they're ejected from KOLN, although they don't seem to have any particular ray pattern. They probably are ejected from doublet, since they appear to be closer to doublet than they do triplet. They are a lighter gray in material. The material is lighter gray in color, and I'm certain that we'll get some of those samples on the way back from our all-sub deployment. It's very difficult to assess any kind of stratigraphy in KOLN right now, looking back at it, because we're looking at the sun at a low sun angle, and it's just not the right direction to view that crater. We're looking for a stratigraphy. But there certainly are boulders on it. From here it looks as though they're at least 20 feet in diameter perhaps, at least the ones we can see here on the western slope. They appear to be grouped fairly close to the rim of the crater, and not too many large boulders on down the sides of the slopes, the outside rim. Again, it looks as though the plane was traveling slowly forward and slowly to the right. As you'll see from the photograph, that's the direction of the landing gear probes as they're bent. The foot pad plus Y, for example, has a drag pattern of approximately 1 foot in the dust. Okay, I've got it loaded. I'm about ready to start down with it now. Okay, just another minute. And so the IFA came loose from its straps and is being a great major headache.
Mitchell has been loading up the bag of...
before you start transferring, on a verified contents in the ATV.
Of cameras and other equipment in an ETV equipment transfer bag, and he'll lower it down to Alan Shepard.
2 Hasselblads.
CBS News color coverage. A man's fourth walk on the moon will continue in a moment.
Tang presents tomorrow. Imagine living, actually living, for 56 days in outer space. Eating and sleeping and working in orbit around the Earth. Someday, 3 astronauts will.
Go ahead with the coordinates.
Right here, aboard Skylab, the first manned space station. During this incredible mission, they will find out what types of work man can perform during extended flights. They will learn how the human body reacts to weightlessness over long periods of time. And on board this space shot of the future, they will have Tang, the orange-flavored instant breakfast drink with more vitamin C than orange juice. The same Tang that's on your kitchen table. Nutritious Tang for breakfast tomorrow.
We're listening to the voice of the astronauts from the moon, 238,000 miles out there, and live color pictures.
About 3 feet to the southeast of the current location of the bell. That's probably where the thrust was when the engine was cut off. And the LEM slowly drifted to the northwest from there. As perhaps you can see from your camera, Houston, the view off to the south is undulating hills, and I would estimate that hill back there to the south is, oh, perhaps 100 feet higher than we are.
Roger. Okay, Al, I'm ready to bring this down.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Okay. Let it come gently.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, just a second here. We'll get a little more tension. Coming over the sill. Oh, there's a little more tension, please. There you are. Okay. Coming over the steps now. Okay. Where are the steps? And I'll take it down slowly.
You have it in hand?
Negative. Hold it right there for a minute. Okay, ease it down a couple of feet.
All the fancy equipment, several $100 million worth of it involved, and we use a clothesline to get the
And it's all yours.
equipment down to the surface of the moon. It's
All right, coming out again.
kind of ironical.
Okay, give Al a few
Get
seconds.
back to the simplest way of doing things, and that apparently is the efficient way.
The equipment bag down now as advertised. We're at 56 minutes since cabin depress. The bag being attached to the mesa now.
I gather that this camera is a little bit north and west of the lunar module, north and east of the lunar module. It's looking southwest.
The cone crater, in other words, would be in back of the camera as you're looking at the scene. Is that the way you see it?
Right, because it's northeast of the lunar module. As a matter of fact, you can see how much difficulty there is getting that camera focused correctly. It's not now, and perhaps can't be focused any better than that in that tremendously bright sun on the moon.
Okay, about ready?
They're going to have to turn that camera around and face it up right in toward the sun for the second lunar walk tomorrow. And there's a great deal of doubt they'll be able to do that and get much of a picture for us tomorrow for that walk. We're hoping for the best, but we don't know. And even at best, they'll probably get out of range of the camera very shortly, since they're walking almost a mile from the lunar module tomorrow up the cone crater.
Apparently, this brightness causes this fuzzy effect we see. It's not fault of anybody's television set. I'm sure we have a very good one here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'll be going out to plant the flag very shortly now.
I don't know whether you caught the time when Al said, "All right, Bruce, would you pull us up?" And Bruce was saying, "Huh? I wish I were there."
Okay, good.
I don't know whether McCandless is ticketed for one of the future flights or not.
Using film.
I just started using film now.
Roger, you on 24?
12.
Roger, 12.
Ed Mitchell coming back down the ladder.
Well, there's a great line on this thing. Of course, Al and I are the original 7, and Ed Mitchell and Stu Russo consider themselves 2 of the original 19. So
Not too far.
the original 19 are getting their licks in today.
They were in the astronaut class of 66, some years after you fellows had made your first flights. Look at that bouncy. Isn't that something?
Tell me when they hit the bottom step. In the bottom step. I'm on it? Yep. Oh, okay. Look at this, the LR cube. Yes. Okay. And then down.
Okay, camera stop, Houston.
Roger. Okay. Have one flag.
Okay, we're right on the timeline. Right to the minute.
Okay, I'll take the camera while you get the flag set up. Okay. I'll go off to the left over there by the FWC. Be it on television. Be the best place, I guess. Okay. F8.
Shepard and Mitchell will deploy the American flag now.
Bruce Morton's in Houston with Colonel Edwin Aldrin. Is going to be with us for the next half hour or so. Colonel Aldrin, of course, was the second man to set foot on the moon, right after Neil Armstrong on the flight of Apollo 11. And Buzz, I'm wondering, I remember how thrilled we were when you placed the flag on the moon, the first American flag. What are your thoughts now?
Well, in a way, I'd like to be up there with them, with the opportunity to put that flag up. That really, as I look back on it, has to be one of the most proudest moments that I ever had in my life.
Is there an urge to go again, Buzz?
Oh, I think any of us in the astronaut group would give just about anything for another opportunity, but we have to be realistic and think in terms of the opportunities that are available for us to participate in the space program in other ways, and the number of people that have put in so much work and deserve their opportunity to go.
It's a great thrill being able to watch this site up there in color, isn't it?
The picture that I'm looking at is extremely good. I'm quite pleased that we're able to get this back.
Thank you, Buzz, and we'll be getting in touch with you from time to time down there as this walk goes on. Thanks so much for being with us.
Very welcome.
Okay. Yeah, we're not going to far around. We're not going to be able to get it with a 16 now.
I could put it down here close by you, want?
Al, this is Houston. I think it would look a lot better if you could bring it over closer towards the TV. Put it right here in front of us, Al. Yeah, maybe on the TV camera side of the lens shadow. At 130, 20 feet. There you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful, babe.
Okay.
Okay. Camera going here.
The word beautiful becomes a big part of our vocabulary, as you may notice.
Mark is running. Roger out.
The flag being positioned about 20 feet from Antares.
It's like the press photographer's moving in there.
Look okay?
Notice how quickly they get used to the moon environment. They're moving much better now than they were just 15, 20 minutes ago. Getting to really move out, bouncing across the lunar surface.
Okay. Does it showing off camera to the right. Bruce, is a ridge that seems to run around this bowl that we're sitting in. It appears to be a ridge. It runs down from what we call Old Nameless to the south, and it runs to the
lunar surface conditions. I noticed that they picked up the same shuffle that we did after a while. I think that probably indicates that they've had a good, long period of training. I'm sure they'd agree with that.
Has the training improved much based on what you and Neil Armstrong did on the first flight?
Well, I think one gains confidence as other people accumulate experience and you're able to talk to them about the various aspects of it and make improvements in the training.
How was the walk? It's obviously not too difficult for a 47-year-old man in good condition.
Well, as long as you don't run into some little difficulties or have problems with some equipment, it's actually not a very strenuous endeavor. But now, of course, that's when you're talking about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I think we're going to see perhaps some endurance effects coming in because they've got 2 different EVAs and they could go up to 4.5 or 5 hours on each one of them.
You said the cables out there were something of a problem in keeping your feet.
Yes, of course, the visibility in the helmet is not the same as you'd have just walking around on the surface of the Earth. And it's a little difficult to tell, especially when you're moving sideways or backwards, to be able to look and see exactly where your feet are going. And that cable does not lie perfectly flat, and it's quite easy. Neil at one time got his foot a little bit tangled up in it.
Okay, that crater is...
Seem to be doing pretty well so far, though.
It's kind of in a low spot, but it's not the lowest.
Well, I think they're doing very well in this EVA. They're right on the timeline, and it appears to me that they seem to have a very good handle on what they're doing.
Because you won't be able to see it. Okay? Now, another sector to the right.
Roger.
Facing almost down sun.
Roger, we got your shadow.
And, okay, it's a very low spot. The deepest part, I guess, is what we were calling cloverleaf before, although I did not realize how deep that depression was. And I still don't quite...
Okay, zoom out while you're talking.
Can't get the... Okay, can't quite get the relief in my mind because it is so different than what I expected. Where you're looking at now, this deep part, is to the south of Dublin. And it's probably 75 to 100 feet below where we are.
Okay, you're aimed up a little high.
Up on the far side to above us. Okay, how's that now?
A lot better. Hey, you don't need to stop talking when I talk if you can do both at once.
Okay. I have a little trouble listening to you and talking at you, too. Not polite. Okay. I'm bringing it back in. And coming around to the west-northwest. And you should be able to see in the distance Dublin crater. And I've lost it now because of the sun angle. But it's just about on the near horizon. I'm sorry, there are 3 mounds, 3 ridges. The near side, the nearest one, the ridge that Dublin is on, and then the far horizon. I'm bringing it on out for you. Dublin is on the second hill that you see.
Roger, we can see the ridges, and I can see a crater that probably is Dublin.
Okay. We'll zoom back in and move on around. I think Al's about to finish up his task over there.
Negative, I'm still working at 8 o'clock.
So.
And I just wonder how come McCandless has the audacity to presume that we're wrong about Dublin crater.
Very presumptuous. Okay, Bruce, I'm coming around one more sector. And you should be able, I'm going to move it just a little bit more, you should be able to see the large rock, the 4 or 5 rocks I was talking about in my discussion before we got out of the limb. And now I'll zoom in on those if I may. Yes, please. Here we go.
CBS News color coverage of the day's walk on the moon will continue in a moment.
When astronauts talk to Earth from the moon, their voices travel across the void 230,000 miles. And along with their words come billions of bits of vital data, from the speed of their heartbeats to the speed of their spacecraft. But after these communications reach Earth, they take another journey. Over the Bell telephone network by wire, cable, switching centers, and microwave relay towers like this. The Bell network speeds the information across a vast communication chain to NASA's ground control centers. This network, with equipment made and installed by Western Electric, is the same network that brings you reliable telephone service. Western Electric. We make Bell telephones. We also help make the network that carries the longest long-distance calls in history.
CBS News color coverage of the flight of Apollo 14 will continue after this message.
Tang presents the moon. More than 250,000 miles away, and yet Earth's nearest neighbor in space. Man has fed his imagination on it since the beginnings. Now he has set foot here, leaving his tracks in the lunar quiet. And with him, Tang, the orange-flavored instant breakfast drink with more vitamin C than orange juice. Nutritious Tang for spacemen and Earth families.
And Ed Mitchell on the surface of the moon continues to pan the color television camera around for a look at the surroundings in which the lunar module Antares landed this morning. They're about an hour into their walk to the moon. They've got another 3 hours to go. Let's listen in.
Now zoom in out here once more. Let you see in close hand what's out there. Another pile of rocks, more ridges. You're pointing at the sky. Okay, that's better. Need a gun sight on this thing. Sure do. Is that better? Yeah, the horizon is about 1/4 of the way up. Okay. Beautiful. Houston, Al is finished with the documentation, counter 110. Roger, Al, 110, Indianapolis, Indiana. And Ed, a frame or two ago, it looked like one of those rocks was split right down the middle. Did you notice that too?
That Indianapolis, Indiana reference you every once in a while is a code reference to one of the magazines of the camera that is marked I, Indianapolis.
It looks like it's from there. We'll go by there later on. Roger. Let's press on with the TV panorama. We're about 2 minutes behind timeline at this point, Ed. And you're looking at sky again. Bring her down. Okay. Okay, Ed, we're recording all this on videotape so that it only takes a relatively brief period of time looking at the scene, and that we can play it back frame at a time later on. Back to 25.
We have lost the color television for a moment from the moon. This was a planned recess in the coverage of the moon by the color television camera while they rewind the color converter or something like that. Maybe somebody can explain it to me in better phrase later, but that's the way it's passed on to me now. And in 1 minute or so, we'll have the color television back again. Very shortly thereafter, Ed Mitchell will be taking the camera back to the mesa, to this the tray you saw deployed from the lunar module descent stage a moment ago, and it will be reaffixed there and aimed at the area where they'll be setting up the scientific experiments and the nuclear power central station that will transmit the results of those experiments back to Earth over a period of a year or more, or probably much more. They're running just a little bit behind their timeline, but not far, 2 or 3 minutes from the very plan set for all of these activities in the first planning of this mission 17 months ago. It's really remarkable how close they hold to these schedules with all that must be fed into them and all that must take place. It's going very well. The flag has been deployed. We saw a great picture of that. We had a good look around the moon, and now very shortly we'll see them setting up the scientific experiments. Al Shepard and Ed Mitchell, men on the moon. The 5th and the 6th, Al Shepard at 47 years old, the oldest astronaut in the astronaut corps, our first man in space, finally getting his long-held wish to make it to the moon. And for a long period of over 6 years, he didn't think he'd ever fly again with that ear disorder he had, but in 1968, he underwent an operation, cleared it up. He'd kept himself in superb physical shape throughout. He went on a very high-intensity training program and qualified for this flight to the moon. That's there's been some sour grapes reaction to that from the other side of the water, where another one of the original Mercury astronauts, Gordon Cooper, who is 43 years old, is appearing on the British Broadcasting Corporation's broadcast of these events, and he has said that he did not feel that Shepard was as qualified as he, and he was younger for the flight. He should have gotten the flight, which confirms what had long been suspected in the space program, was that Gordon Cooper left the space program primarily because Shepard, instead of he, got this flight to the moon. He also had other run-ins with NASA, the most recent before his leaving the program after flying in the original Mercury group and then in Gemini and doing a superb job of flying when he did. He made the longest flights up to the time of each of his endurance flights when he made them. They were the longest. But he got into one run-in with NASA when they told him he could not race his automobile any longer, right at the point where he's about to race in a 24-hour sports car endurance race at Daytona Beach. And shortly after that, he left the program. He'd had several other quarrels with NASA management through a period of time, and now he's out of the program. He is the first of the astronauts to publicly criticize the selection of others for flights, in criticizing the selection of Al Shepard, who he says he did not feel as qualified for the flight. So far, Al Shepard has shown that he can do the work. He landed with Ed Mitchell precisely where they were supposed to land this morning, and so far this walk is going right on schedule. Let's listen in again as they move the camera back, and we should be getting some pictures shortly again, I would think. We don't have pictures yet. You can see in the upper left-hand side of the mission control picture there, their display screen, while they wait for the color television to come back.
Let's get there.
Now they explain to me what they mean by rewinding the color converter. The color television signal has to go through a videotape machine to be converted to the to commercial television, to the type we use here, domestic television, I probably should say, to set the color properly. And when the tape runs out, the machine has to be rewound, even as your old Victrola and mine.
Victrola? I don't have an old Victrola.
Never mind, never mind. Some people are older in the space program than others, that's all.
move around to put the TV camera on the scientific equipment.
And Terry Houston, we'd like to get an EMU status report at this point.
They've gone over to the black and white camera for the moment. These are black and white pictures from the moon.
And reading 72. No flags. I'm on low flow and in good shape.
Roger.
The matter pull card has been deployed now.
0.7. And reading 67%. Low flow. Low cooling and feeling great.
Roger.
TV camera is covered and proceeding to the rear of the lamb to observe the deployment of the LSEP.
Roger.
This is Ed Mitchell moving the camera now over to the mesa for the pictures that will show them setting up the scientific experiment stations. You tell me that there was some difficulty in getting the color picture, that was the color camera that they were using, but they were getting black and white pictures from it, quite good pictures too. However, there's no reason to believe that they're not going to be getting color pictures again once they get over to the mesa and restore the normal transmission.
Televise the LSEP offloading.
Deke Slayton has just relayed a message from the president to astronauts Shepard and Mitchell, and here is a recording of that message.
We were very pleased a few minutes ago to receive a phone call here in Mission Control from President Nixon. He asked me to extend to you and to Stu his best congratulations. He said that like millions of people all over the world, he is an astronaut watcher at this time. The picture is coming in very well at the White House, he said. The President said he knew how many thousands of people had worked on this mission, without whom men would not be walking safely on the moon. He asked that I wish the Apollo entire team well. The President said he was proud of you and proud of them. He sent you a wire just before the flight wishing you Godspeed, and he wishes you well on your return flight. The President also asked me to invite you to the White House for dinner and to spend a weekend at Camp David with your families after the mission is completed. Over.
Didn't say anything about whether that invitation's supposed to be RSVP'd today.
Can you poke one of the legs into the surface there? It's a pretty flimsy tripod, I realize.
At the moment.
Getting color pictures again.
That reference was to the TV tripod.
Jimmy, I think it'll stay now.
Okay, what zoom are you on?
Okay, how's that?
We need to back off the zoom some.
Yeah, I think we'll have to.
It's a great picture.
Okay. Okay. Wrong way.
Okay, Bruce, can you see the bay?
I can see your hands very clearly. We seem to be close to back. Okay, hold that zoom, Al.
CBS News color coverage. A man's fourth walk on the moon will continue in a moment.
This is canned dog food. This is the canned dog food without the can. It's called Gainsburgers. No mess, no odor, no can to open. Meaty, moist, nutritious. A tasty combination of meat byproducts and meat, plus all the vitamins, minerals, vegetables, and milk protein your dog needs. The choice is simple. Canned dog food or Gainsburgers. The canned dog food without the can.
CBS News color coverage of the flight of Apollo 14 will continue in a moment. This is CBS.
Clean enough for baby to crawl on? You spend hours scrubbing and waxing your floors. Are your carpets that clean? How long has that germ-carrying grit and grime been embedded in your floor covering? Well, until now, there's been no effective way to extract this soil that can actually double the weight of a carpet within a year. But now, you have Steamatic, the revolutionary process that gets the dirt out. Wherever you go, you see carpeting wearing out before its time. Now, Steamatic not only restores carpet beauty, but increases its wear life as well. Clean carpets obviously wear longer. For this reason, and because you don't need to clean as often, your maintenance cost is negligible in your home and place of business. Your carpets and rugs are a substantial investment and vital to the appearance of your surroundings. Let us tell you of the many advantages Steamatic has to offer.
Have your rug cleaned the Steamatic way at Lincoln Rug Company, 37th and Calvert, 488-2353. Nora's new bow turns out to be a bore on the Andy Griffith Show tonight on 10 and 11.
This is a CBS News special report. 10 years later, the flight of Apollo 14, sponsored by Tang, the nutritious breakfast drink for breakfast tomorrow, and Western Electric, the people who make communications equipment for the Bell system. Here again is Walter Cronkite.
10 years later, to be precise, 9 years and 9 months since Al Shepard made the United States' first flight into space. A little tentative step, just 115 miles up and 302 miles downrange from then Cape Canaveral. That same Alan Shepard stands on the moon. He's just readjusted the camera, and now he and his partner in the flight of Antares to the moon are unloading equipment packages. And with these first color pictures from the moon, we're watching them as they go through their detailed, highly sophisticated and refined chores on the moon. They've been out now about an hour and 20 minutes. This walk is scheduled for about 4 hours. That swinging line of some kind there is interesting. I hadn't thought about it before, but I suppose with the lack of atmospheric resistance, a pendulum of that sort would swing almost indefinitely, wouldn't it? I mean, where is the... there's no friction against it. Friction at the top, only at the fulcrum of it.
Mitchell is just taking the hand tool carrier off now and placing it on the bed.
You can see that mobile equipment transporter over there on the left. That's the little two-wheeled buggy, sometimes called rickshaw. They pull along with them like a child's cart. It means that they don't have to carry all this heavy equipment with them. Although, of course, everything on the moon weighs just 1/6 what it does on Earth, but still it's very unhandy, carrying a whole lot of tools and cameras, and then loading up bags with rocks, other geological samples, soil dust and so forth.
Interesting.
Now they have this little cart to carry it all on.
The interesting thing about this cart, there are fenders over each of the wheels so that the lunar soil won't be flipped up as the wheels rotate and throw it all over the men or all over the equipment. This was a later development as they started realizing what might happen with it.
As we've seen, as they move around there, that moon dust, which clings to any body that touches it, apparently, is one of the surprising things they found, I think, on Apollo 11. It also flies in the air as you kick it around. It doesn't settle immediately, obviously, again in that 1/6 atmosphere.
We now show heart rates on Shepard
on
between
fixed gravity.
70 and 80, on
Hey,
Mitchell
there it is. A very
between
good
80 and 90.
picture of it again.
We're at 1 hour 35 minutes.
I'll fully expect to see Earl and Ron come running around to pick up the 5th pins from the thrown away parts. Yeah. Okay, I guess it's a pretty level place right there.
One of the better comments about this so-called littering of the moon is that all of that garbage, if we can phrase it that way, was paid for and made on Earth. So I don't think we're leaving anything valuable there other than equipment that'll give us data for years to come, as you say, with the seismometer. Thinking that Apollo 12 was there in November of '69, and we got data from it on the S4B impact.
Right. As somebody has said, not $1 has been spent on the moon. Every dollar's been spent here on Earth, most of it in the USA. Speaking of that S4B impact, it did impact, as we know, but perhaps haven't reported, the third stage of the Saturn booster, as scheduled, smashed into the moon with a force of 11 tons of dynamite, set up seismic waves which were recorded by the old Apollo 12 equipment, similar to that that's being put out now to give an additional amount of equipment on the moon. And then when Apollo 15 puts one out, we'll have a triangulated system, won't we, out there to judge the motion of the moon, moon quakes, seismic events. And the S4B did its job. Hit the moon at 5,690 miles an hour, about 115 miles south-southeast of the Apollo 12 seismic station.
It's too bad we can't call in a meteorite on call to do the job for us. The one that did Cone Crater probably had the explosive power of about 3,500 tons of TNT.
Well,
explore quite a bit of the lunar interior with that kind of a blast. But not too close.
Well, I know some of the scientists have wished that there be a little moonquake or some rather substantial moonquakes while the astronauts are up there. They say that they wouldn't be dangerous at all to them unless they were on the edge of a crater and started a landfall of some kind, earthfall. It wouldn't be an earthfall, or what, moonfall. Watch your terminology here all the time. It's very much like setting up camp somewhere, watching this operation, unloading the old Essex, getting the tent set up.
Fueling the Alsep electric generator now. 1 hour 38 minutes since cabin depress.
Now this is a fascinating bit of equipment. This is that thermonuclear generator, which has a plutonium core that, as an isotope, creates nuclear energy and powers the sending station and the equipment that is left on the moon. Remember, on Apollo 12, Conrad had to beat on the side of the container to get that fuel cell out. It stuck in there.
Just one of the reasons that people may not suspect that these are apart is so that they, if in some inadvertent case, would fall back on Earth, they wouldn't contaminate Earth if there's an accident off the launch pad or prior to getting into orbit. That's why it's being assembled now, so it was totally safe up until this point from that.
It's carried in a huge graphite and steel cylinder. And has to be lifted out to the core cell, lifted out of that and then placed into the generator so that it will work. There was some concern when 13 came back as to what it was the first test of carrying one of these back in a crash situation. Of course, it was in the carried back in the lunar module, but the lunar module they never expected that would be brought back to Earth.
No.
And here it came back with the Apollo 13. So there was some concern, but when it burned up in the atmosphere, if it did, this was destroyed. If not, it plunged into the ocean at one of the deepest points of the Pacific Ocean, and apparently has been no harm from it. It's a very low order of radioactivity anyway in this particular thermonuclear generator.
Well, maybe we'll get some confidence having used it on the moon so we can use something like it on the Earth with more frequency. The fossil fuels aren't exactly doing the job we'd like to.
Clean slope is about as little as we can get from here. Okay.
So that batteries for electric watches
Hey, looks good.
of this generation.
All right, a little more this way. There you go. Very good. They're reading on that. Just a minute. Okay. In Houston, all of the temperature indicators are still white.
Roger, Ed.
That's the door. Hey, the doors are closed.
I suppose when he talks about the doors closed, he's talking about on the that all-set power plant. And now Shepard's moving out to move the camera again. You can see in the shadow's almost a clear picture as the direct picture.
Notice the relaxed position of his hands in that shadow. It's very difficult to keep your fingers straight.
Yeah. 7 minutes behind the timeline. Now, he just capped the camera, and obviously, therefore, we don't have a picture. He will move the camera around so that it will now be facing the next area in which activity will take place. Then we will probably see Mitchell about the time he gets the camera reset, pulling the MET, as it's called, the mobile equipment transport, on their last pass around the moon, and the men here on Earth had to do some fast figuring to beat that problem, but all went well. They landed just exactly where they wanted to, and now for the last hour and a half, they've been walking on the moon's surface. They've got another about 2 hours and 15 minutes left of this walk, and that could be extended as much as a half hour.
Okay, good.
Okay.
There's Al Shepard bouncing his way back over to the LEM and to Mitchell to begin to pick up the packages and to pull the mobile transporter out.
Loading more equipment on the Met.
CBS News color coverage of today's walk on the moon will continue in a moment.
I'm going ahead and get the 16 millimeter on, getting it out of my way right now.
Back to our pictures live from the moon with the voices of Al Shepard and Ed Mitchell.
The 16 millimeter.
Right.
The voice you'll hear occasionally from Houston, from the Manned Spacecraft Center there, is the capsule communicator Bruce McCandless.
And I'm getting ready to open SRC number 1.
Roger. And, Al, have you got...
White television cam.
Roger.
Black and white TV cameras in the plus Y strut.
Roger, with the white surface normal to the line to the sun.
That's correct.
Roger.
Long dimension horizontal.
Roger. And on magazine Charlie, I show you still have 3 minutes remaining.
Okay, we'll leave it on there then.
Roger.
Okay, SRC-1 is open.
Okay.
Oh, damn. Up the way back.
Hey, Matt.
Okay.
And use tongs, you want them?
Okay, I'll probably say any dirtier than necessary. And I'll drop both of them. But that,
Okay. Yes, I'll put them in the pocket when you're through.
okay.
Shepard Mitchell now on the north side of the lunar module Antares. They will later move the Met or pull cart and scientific equipment to the west. The camera will be repositioned following that movement. We show 1 hour 50 minutes since cabin depress.
Okay, Houston, magazine double dog and double easy going on the Met.
Roger, Delta, Delta, and Echo, Echo.
Take this baby off low.
Yeah.
Hey, Stevie. That way, getting that ready. Let me slip these babies in there.
Okay. This one up front.
Okay, good.
This booster's sure a lot stiffer than the training suits.
Well, the sand's a little different, too.
Yeah.
Well, now.
There it goes again.
I just lift it up and put it on with your hands and then put it down.
Push it up and do what?
Lift it up. with one hand and put it on the other.
That's what I was going to do. This time.
Shepard, Mitchell still loading the Met. Long list of equipment to be loaded.
Okay. Took a bit longer than expected.
When they get this equipment loaded and start moving out to deploy it, put it around on the various spots around there where it's meant to go, and most of them in rather precise positions. One of the interesting experiments that is new on this flight is the so-called thumper. And over an area of a long line, around 150 feet or so, every few feet they fire a charge about equal to a .22 caliber charge. Just a little thumper, as they call it, and that's what it is, to measure very precisely with listening equipment they will place on the moon's surface and give them some idea of the surface makeup of the moon. We'll get more on that from Dr. Salisbury shortly. CBS News color coverage, a man's fourth walk on the moon, will continue in a moment.
Tang presents Tomorrow. These are astronauts, training underwater for an incredible mission in outer space. 56 days in orbit aboard the first manned space station and 2 lonely spacewalks around it. NASA trains them underwater in spacesuits with full equipment load because zero gravity is simulated here better than anywhere else on Earth. And once they're walking in free space, outside of the space station, this training could mean the difference between success and disaster. Inside the Skylab, they will have all the comforts of home, a bedroom, a bathroom, a workroom, a kitchen. And they will have Tang, the orange-flavored instant breakfast drink with more vitamin C than orange juice. The same Tang that's on your kitchen table. Nutritious Tang for breakfast tomorrow.
The astronauts of Antares of the Apollo 14 flight, about halfway through their first of their 2 walks on the moon.
When they start to move, Shepard will pull the Met. Mitchell will carry the ALSEP package.
That's John McLeish, the voice of Apollo in Houston. And these voices are from the moon, of Ed Mitchell and of Al Shepard.
Okay, we'll put this one in the pocket.
I'm already getting the feeling that they're working. You can tell they're not as light and as exuberant as they were before they started complaining about the suit pressure a little bit being more than they were accustomed to. Not complaining, but sort of making note of it is a better choice of words.
They sound like men working. They sound a little breathless, labored, time to time.
Well, it's almost like being in a big beer barrel, practically, and bending the darn thing in that suit. And you try to get folds and break points where your arm doesn't have to bend it all the time. This does help. It's almost an evolution of a new kind of clothing.
Roger, still reading uneven hundreds.
Would you say, Wally, that it balances out perhaps the 1/6 gravity of the ease of movement, the fact even your arms move a little easier. They, you were pointing out earlier, float a little, as opposed to the extra labor of the suit. Maybe that just about comes out even?
I suspect it does. They're like kangaroo step, of course, because they can't bend their legs as much as they would if they were not pressurized. So they try to hop and avoid all the leg motion, and if they could, they'd rather not move at all. But the weight, of course, is compensated very nicely by the 1/6 gravity. Oddly enough, you can't jump 6 times as high because you can't get your muscles or your springs coiled up enough to push you. Most people would think you might set new high jump records or broad jump records, but to crush yourself down in a sense to get your first initial spring for a big jump, you don't weigh enough to crush down or coil up your springs. So you really can't jump 6 times as high.
It never occurred to me, and it now has changed my mind about going to the moon. If I can't jump 6 times higher than I do on Earth, I'm not going.
That gives you a chance to jump 6 feet, you might do that.
If I could jump 6 times what I can do now, it'd be 6 feet, precisely. They're running a little behind their timeline now. I think the last report was about 7 minutes.
Glad you're still with us, Bruce. Okay. Blake's down.
The crew will shortly be moving to their new position.
Okay, let's put that baby over here. But your last item? Let me double check. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Okay, as soon as we'll start a run down here, I think we're about ready. Yeah. That's a core tube cap assembly, extension handle, 2 sets of tongs. We have a thumper geophone anchor on the front. We have the tether, the gnome, the hammer, the scoop. 3 core tubes, 35 back dispenser, close-up camera, 2 SESCs, 270mm camera with color exterior, 116mm camera and 1 mag, 4-way bag, 2 maps, extra number geophone flag, large scoop is on, right, large scoop is on, and we're taking the trenching tool with us.
Okay, and you should have 16mm and 2 mags.
That's correct. We have a total of, I was just going to say, total of 3 mags. 1 is almost used. The other 2 are clean.
Roger, looks good.
With it?
At 2 hours, the crew is ready to move.
That is checked before you set out.
And there they go, having checked out all their equipment.
About 55%. Medium to low, low cooling. Doing great.
Okay, say again the percentage, Ed.
Looks like I'm reading 50. No. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's hard to see. Yeah. I'm reading 55%, Bruce.
Roger.
You're reading more than that, it must be. What? No, I'm not reading more than that.
Go ahead, Al.
Okay? Okay. Okay, Al is at 3.75, reading 62%. And I have no flags. I'm on min cooling, and I'm very comfortable.
Roger out. And we need to point the TV camera out to the LSEP site.
No, I'll go get it. Let me boom on out and get that. I think I'll aim it a little bit to the left of that right crater on the side of the west wall of South Dublin. Yeah, that's a good place, though.
Hey, Al, if there's any uncertainty as to the deployment area, we'd rather go to a zoom of 100 instead of a zoom of 150. But if you think you've got a good site picked out now, we can go to 150.
I think we can find a good site. We may be a little closer to Dublin than the map shows because of the grade going up there, but I think there's a level site fairly close to the south rim of Dublin. And we'll land the camera in that general direction and give you 150 zoom.
Roger out.
Focus at infinity.
And they're resetting the camera. Now to get the picture of the area in which they will be pulling the equipment.
Hold on. Al, you can get quite a ways further out if you want them. You've got a little cable left. We're in right for the south rim of Dublin now. South rim of South Dublin. And you'll probably be able to see that bright star crater right in the very edge of your field of view. The F-stop okay?
Yeah, F-stop's fine. I've got what looks like 1, 2 ridges and then the horizon in the picture, and I see just past the second ridge, I see looks like 2 craters in line. Over.
Don't be concerned if you don't see anything on your television screen at the moment. That's what's being transmitted.
Camera pointing where the ALSEP will be deployed now.
Something out there that fits still. Okay, I'll go pick up the barbell.
I think that ridge they're referring to is about the upper third of the screen now. You can just barely see it.
Yeah, I think so, Wally. They'll be moving into this picture from, I guess,
we'd like to try
camera left.
and peak.
This gives you an example of why it's difficult to land on the moon. The detail doesn't show up too well at this low angle where they are now walking on the surface.
Right. Actually, however, it's far better now than it would be as the sun rises and the shadows become less definite.
Yes, to wash it out.
CBS News color coverage of the walk on the moon will continue in a moment.
You are watching us plant some of the world's most remarkable seeds.
CBS News color coverage of the flight of Apollo 14 will continue after this message.
Yeah. I think,
well, our ASR isn't working very well, but if we can once get you in the field of view, we'll acquire you.
I'm headed over that way. Yes, Bruce?
Negative, Ed. I believe you're off to our left. Okay, you're coming in now.
Until we get up pretty close to the site. Okay. Okay, I'm going to stop here and rest for a minute. I'll lift that thing heavier than I expected.
Okay, Ed, we've got you in the field of view over to the left now.
Okay. Al should be coming in right now, too. there might be a little secondary impact right there. But there are so many different types of craters around here. We could spin the whole EVA within 100 yards of the limb. Okay, lead on and I'll follow and watch the map for you. Okay, going to your right. Okay, Houston, we're proceeding over a very fine grain regolith we described before. Undulating surface.
Okay, you need to angle left just a little bit.
Upslope. Left.
Yeah, you're doing fine now.
Okay. Houston, this looks like brown talcum powder. It's so fine in most places.
Roger, the Met's going off to the right.
The angle is increasing now. Met's trying to find a smooth place to go. I think let's go around this crater here. To the left. I think we can find our way down. Heavens, that's a deep hole. Yeah, I guess we can make it either way. Say again? See, we can make it either way. Okay. See those two over there at 10 o'clock? You know which two those are on the map? The two at 10 o'clock? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Houston, we'll be dropping down out of sight for a while, probably.
Roger.
Going down in a depression. Deep, very deep depression compared to what it looked like. Let's stop a minute now. I'm not sure, but what we picked just about as good a spot as anywhere. I think so. It looks a little smoother out here because of being closer to zero phase, perhaps. I think that's it, but it's not a bit smoother than the other.
That's the same point you were making a moment ago, Wally, about the lighting effect.
In fact, it's difficult to see where you're going at this low angle because you were much lower than the spacecraft was when it landed.
And it's an optical illusion. Looking a little distant, it looks like it's flat, but it's not.
No, it looked like a dry salt lake, didn't it? And in fact, they're now detecting that it's as bumpy there as it was near the LEM itself. I don't think we noticed that depression there at all when they walked out.
75 yards might be our answer. Right beyond these next two craters. Yeah, I think so. It's probably a pretty good spot. Press on up there. Yeah. We're in the general area of the planned offset deployment now on the chart. It's in a depression. I think we'll move on a little closer to Dublin to give it a higher elevation.
Roger, you're visible from about the armpits up right now.
Okay. I think you'll press a little to the left now. Yeah, I guess we'll have to. Nothing like being up to your armpits in lunar dust.
That remark should be banned, shouldn't it? Yeah.
I think just to the left of that rock that's ahead of us.
They provide a pass-through here.
Incidentally, ALSEPS is the acronym for Apollo Lunar Surface Experiments Package.
And that seems to be riding very well, Houston.
Apollo Lunar
Bouncing a little bit, making
Surface Experiments Package. Yeah.
not about to turn over. It jumps about a foot.
Everybody has to have an ALSEP these days.
Very stable.
There's quite a bit of controversy about how many different experiments would be in that.
Dust thrown up by the tires?
They finally made the timeline for delivery, but of course they weren't really as much as you see now. It takes time to get these things put together and tested, just like it does a spacecraft.
The dirt seems to be kind of clumpy.
Interestingly enough, there's a whole team of people just working on that project alone.
Yeah.
And they're anxiously waiting to see how it'll work today, I'm sure.
Okay, I guess that reaches the best. I think so.